Greetings, everybody. My name is Harry Jacobs, and this is the North of 60 Gaming Channel, and I am the North of 60 Gamer. Today, I want to talk about a couple of things. First off, I did have some surgery last week, so this is really the second video that I've produced since then. Usually, I do 2 or 3 videos a week. I only did last week's copy and Kickstarter, and it took me a huge amount of time to do a Kickstarter. Not because it took any more time than it usually does. It's just that I could only do it an hour at a time because I just can't sit that long, and I still can't sit that long. So maybe I'll be a little briefer this week, but I would not count on that. First up, I want to say Amazon Day canceled due to COVID. It seems south of the border there were deals to be had, but Amazon thought Canadians didn't need those deals. Thank you, Amazon, for thinking of us as second-class citizens and thinking that our friends south of the border was like, woohoo, and us are like, nah, we're not going to let you have deals. Now, granted that board gaming in prime days in the last 3 to 4 years, Exploding Kittens, $9.99, not really a game I really care about. Nor I own it. It's still Shrink. Or did I give it to my kids? I might have given it to my kids just to get rid of it. Anyway, second up, the Yellowknife LARP, and that is their Facebook page. In partnership with the city of Yellowknife, where I live, are putting on an intro to LARPing on the 23rd and the 29th of June. So contact them via their Facebook page if you want more information. LARPing, if you do not know, is live action role-playing game and gaming, and I hope you do join them. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the pricing of games and what that really means. And I think we've all seen the rising costs of games over the last year or even a year and a half now, give or take. And I think it doesn't take a lot of brain power to figure out the major cost of that was caused by COVID itself. Not that COVID affected pricing in a way indirectly. It's not that COVID did affect the price indirectly because of the supply chain. All of a sudden, when you start taking out elements of the supply chain, you are now looking at increased times to deliver and increased costs to deliver, and because there's supply and demand. So think of the higher margin items and the bigger publishers being able to go to Panda and saying, I need you to get this out the door. I want 20,000 units. And Panda goes, woohoo, let's do it. Now, that didn't really increase the cost of the bigger publisher, but what it does do is push out and delays perhaps the smaller. And when he's looking for money for other things, like maybe he's got advertising, he's trying to get pledge managers up and running, and where there's costs, and you really want to get this product because you want to get that product to the consumer because they do want to get us to the consumer, at least most of the time. I have seen significant delays in every project, especially in Canada, where we seem to be the afterthought of fulfillment, which is kind of frustrating when you see the pictures going up and people are going, hey, look at this game, click, click, click. Hey, we're playing it. It's so much fun. And 2 months go by and I'm going like, where's my copy? Well, Canadian Customs is holding it up, and then it has to go to the fulfillment center. Then Canada Post is going to sit on it for 3 weeks. Just recently, I just checked again today. They were supposed to deliver it yesterday. Now it's disappeared to pending delivery as opposed to we're going to deliver it. Now it's kind of, we're thinking about delivering it now. So while my friends south of the border and other areas are playing their game, I'm looking at going like, thanks, Canada Post. I'm just waiting for my game 3 weeks to get it from point A to point B. And I can see it in point B, but you can't get it to point C because it's sitting there. You've handed it off to somebody else who goes, yeah, when I get to it. I live in Yellowknife, man. That is the way that goes. Okay, I am ranting, and that's not what I intend to do, but But so one of the things I wanted to talk about was, what does that supply chain look like? And so I did a little research this morning, and and came up with a list of elements of the supply chain and roughly the order of which they sort of come in. And of course, this is going to vary. This is not set in stone. Um, I think this is good. It's a good base one. Now, you may self-publish or go to a publisher. A lot of first-time creators are self-publishers at this point, so you're going to do everything. So that is the first step. You are the designer and the publisher. Somebody comes to you with an idea, or you have an idea, and the publisher is the person who coordinates the creation of the project. He's the one that, with the project management skills, hopefully, and brings you through the marketing and the campaign and the rest of the supply chain, right down to the customer service at the end of the day. So there is that person at the end, or person or company at the end or the beginning of the supply chain. Then when we start to talk about, okay, who's next in there? Well, we're going to get all the publisher art and all that things that have to go. That now has to go to the manufacturer. And then the manufacturer has to create the proofs, get the art finalized. There's that back and forth. And we all know and heard of Panda. I should tell you that the minimum order for Panda is 1,000 units. So when those small publishers or designers that are putting those self-published games out there and selling 600-700 units, you know that they're buying 1,000 units. So they are on the hook for 300 to 400 more units from the manufacturer. So they're not making any money off those 600 because they've got to pay for those manufactured copies. And that means the shipping, because they got to get it to their house. Because I know in a couple of cases it was like, okay, I'm shipping it. Where are you shipping it from? Oh, my house, because I've got the 400 copies sitting in my garage. Then after that is the freight shipper. And we all know what's going on with that. Alex talked about it last week in his show. We are manufacturing games. Board games have gone up, not in cost, but in popularity over COVID, 20%. I believe the number was something like $12.4 billion in North America and the UK combined. That was up over 20% over last year, which was like $10 billion. This industry is huge. So Panda is pumping out those games, putting them to the docks, and the freight shipper's looking at them going like, all the ships are headed that way. I have no ships to put them on. We didn't increase the ships by 20%. We don't have more ships. What's worse, we don't have more containers. And Alex sort of explains all that. And then we look at the other side of the pond where the ships land. And with COVID in the U.S. main ports, they can't get stuff off the ships or unpacked. They get them off the ships and then they sit at the docks because there's nobody to unpack them. So then they send back what they do have, and those 100 containers that got shipped, maybe 30 or 40 went back to China, and they're going empty. So they got these freighters going back empty, and without a full load of containers. So they go back and go, I got 40 containers. Well, that's going to raise your cost, and in fact, it's quadrupled or quintupled the cost of containers. The last I heard, according to Alex anyway, was $15,000 for a container. At one point, it was around $1,500. And through COVID, it has just gone skyrocketed. And it's nuts because it's just supply and demand. And of course, if you've got the margins, which don't exist in the board game industry, those higher margin products can absorb the increase in shipping. Think electronics, where margins are huge. They can afford the containers at $15,000, but Joe is going to have to wait till there's a full container with other games that are going or other things, and he may not have a full. It may not cost him $16,000, but he's going to have to wait. So he's waiting on the dock until he can put it in a container and get it back from China to wherever it's going. this really is a management of expectations from the designer and publisher, and that's why transparency is so important to what's going on and how it's going. I often know, like, the better campaigns that I have seen are at least communicative about it. Then I can make a joke. I mean, I joke with Tristan Hall from Hall or Nothing because his games are being on the Kickstarter and going to manufacturing before I even get games from the last go around. I'm still waiting for Velrath. Am I bitter? Maybe a little bit. Sorry, folks. After that becomes it lands. It has to be broken down, set out to that distributor, who's then going to break it down into little packages, who's going to send it off to the distributor. Mind you, everybody's putting their fingers in the pockets. And we have to make sure that there's enough trucks. So if there's COVID issues and there's not enough trucks, then this is a problem. Then you may pay extra. Supply and demand. I'm going to pay you extra. And when George comes along and says, I want to ship this, he's going to go, you got to bump up your price. Now, one of the ways, of course, we've seen in a couple of, and I've had this in a couple of Kickstarters, is, can you send me more money? Look, I'm sorry, but in reality, it's gone up $20 or $10. Please go on the Kickstarter, send me $20. You're going to get your game, but if you don't pay me that extra $20, it's going to go out in the second wave. Or because we're going to have to sell those 300 copies that I didn't sell through Kickstarter to raise enough money to get these out the door. These are economic realities. So I think, from my perspective, the designers, publishers who go out to Kickstarter just have to be more realistic about managing the expectations of the people who are kickstarting and saying, yeah, a year ago when I said it was $20, I didn't expect, and containers were $1,500 to get. I didn't expect a jump of 1,000 times or 10 times to ship your product. Who's going to eat that? I mean, this small publisher probably can't eat it, but yet he might, and in some cases they do, or they pass it along. I think we're going to see more of that. So in response to what I've seen and people being angry, I just say get used to it. This is the new reality of Kickstarter. I've seen a change in the add-ons. Now, I love the add-on features, but let me tell you, I mean, those add-ons are there to raise the margins, right? The fear of missing out. So yes, the stretch goals are nice and they add costs. So they have to figure that into the price up front. How much are those stretch goals going to cost me? Because, when I buy a game for $60 and I know it's going to retail for $40, what's in it for me to spend $60? If there are no stretch goals, and I've seen a few of these campaigns that don't include stretch goals in the basic package, that's because they're saying, here's retail, buy it and pay more for it. And I'm going like, I'll wait for retail. But and then you have the deluxe and says, yes, you can have the Kickstarters. And then you get these other they keep compounding that, making it harder and harder to say, well, if I go to this level, well, maybe I should go to this level because I might miss out on something. But anyway, that's another story. From our distributor, and there are big distributors in across the U.S. and North America. They will then fulfill either directly to yourself or to your retailer. Finally, the consumer gets to me. So when you look at it, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps, and there might even be more in different aspects. And most of this is not just in time. It's not like Walmart where it's retail and it's going in the door as you're selling out the door, which is a just in time. These are not just in time manufacturers. We are buying bulk and then we're selling it and then we're going to go back to another printing. So I hope this gives you an idea of what is going on. And don't forget the costs of things like Kickstarter. Fees can be as much as 8% to 10%, depending on the pledges. Like even that $1 pledge or $5 pledge, 50 cents is going to Kickstarter. So not everything on that pledge goes to the manufacturer. And in fact, in a breakdown in a single game, person who owed rose through Kickstarter $20,000. It cost him personally $28,000. But in that $20,000, he breaks down his costs. Service fees was $1,700. The taxman in that $20,000 raised took $3,000. So the taxman takes money. Shipping, it cost $6,000 to ship his game. Printing, $16,000. Kickstarter took $600. It cost him $1,400 in publicity, and the game itself, the cost was $1,260. I don't know what. Oh, okay. So the $1,200 for the artists and proofs and things like that. So the entire sum was about $28,000 plus about $2,000 pre-production costs. So it cost about $30,000. He raised 20, and this is where all the money went. He lost $8,000 or $10,000. And in fact, there was a Kickstarter I just read the other day that they had to actually sell their house because it went badly. So you can see there is gaps, and these are passion projects. I myself could not afford to take a $10,000 hit for my stability of my family. But anyway, I don't want to go on anymore. I want to get to the Kickstarter portion. I have talked for 17 minutes, which is far longer than I wanted to. But, this is so much fun and just interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you. If it is, please hit the like, subscribe, please consider. And, of course, if you want notifications, hit the bell. I do this show every Tuesday. It's called Coffee and Kickstarter. Oops, yes, indeed. There is coffee. And I will have a sip. Ooh. Now, let's jump over to our Kickstarter and join me over there. And we're going to go quickly through that. Usually takes me about 2 minutes per Kickstarter. It is breakneck. It is not detailed. It's just, what am I looking at? And maybe you should look at it too, or maybe not. Anyway, on to Kickstarter. And here we are on the Kickstarter, finally. Ramble. I just wanted to put myself in the picture because of this very nice shirt. My wife thinks I'm very handsome. Probably the only person who does. Anyway, let's start going through this really quick. First up is Dice Lords, a collectible trading dice game. They have asked for $18,558 for a goal. They've got 8 backers, 23 days to go. They have raised $559. Granted, I believe this is the first day. Now, this reminds me, you can see that little deck here. I thought, one deck dungeon, or deck box dungeon, I should say. So somewhere around that. So it reminded me of those two games. I thought, I'm always on the lookout for those kinds of games. This is the first time created. He hasn't backed anything. This is his brainchild, a collectible trading dice game. The best he says he can describe it as it's a blown-up version of fantasy chess. And there is a picture of it. And that's it. Now I got to say, Volts Games. No. I don't see anything here that compels me to say, what's in it to me? Dice Lord Booster Pack. I don't know what that is, $10. Get one of the first produced booster packs for the official launch date. The Battle Pack. 2 Collector's Pack. 5 times booster packs. No. I'm not going to spend any time with this. There is nothing that brings me in here. What's the narrative? Why should I play your game? What's in it for me? What are you hoping to accomplish? What was your motivation? Not even a video of yourself playing the game. This needs to come back. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I don't believe it's a bad idea, but it just needs to come back with something more that says, I've got this great idea and I'm going to combine them and come up with a game, and we're going to get some packs and it's going to be collectible, and which sounds interesting, but there are collectible dice games out there. I've seen them, but I don't think this one is going to run first time around. Maybe it will, but I am not backing this. This really doesn't really have anything interesting for the viewer to really latch onto. I'm sorry to say. All I'm going to say about that. Let's move on. I'm only going to bring this one up It's canceled. Oh my gosh. I was sad that this was canceled. It sounded like a brilliant idea. But alas, due to problems that arose and your doubts, we decided to cancel the campaign. So they wanted us to know that the artwork was redrawn by their artists and never been officially licensed products. So there's the veiled, in between the lines explanation. We have a great idea for the products, but we didn't check with the IPs of whether or not we could do this or not. I think that if you've got brilliant ideas and you want to go out and bring me acrylics, which I certainly hope you do, because there were some really good ones, and I'm not going to show you a campaign. Go back, look next week at last week's, because I did want to back this, but get your IP in straight. Talk to those manufacturers. There's probably a reason why a set of upgrades for big games costs $40, $50, $60, and probably there is a licensing involved, but I don't know for sure. I am not an expert. I'm a little disappointed it was canceled, but I do understand why. I do hope they come back and they straighten out whatever those problems were. I didn't doubt this project. In fact, I think that more manufacturing should go away from miniatures and into these acrylics. I think, now I know you're saying, Harry, but I'd like to paint them. Well, in which case then, hey, there's add-ons. But I would like to get away from cardboard, and I don't mind spending a little extra for acrylic. In fact, maybe that's the deluxe version, and if you want the ultra deluxe version, you buy the minis. But anyway, so this Pawn Pal, sorry, I wish it was going. Here was a game, whoops, I should have brought this to the top, just interests me. It is Nobel Run, a deck builder game about research and science. And it is funded. $20,000, owner's 21,523 backers. The goal was just a modest 4,400. It looks like it's probably a French manufacturer. Looking at the French here. So we're going to hire pre-doctorates, postdoctorates, seniors, publish articles, and get funding in order to win the Nobel Prize. The art is cartoonish, which is fine. I just thought I'd show you. I think this deserves a look. If you're interested in probably a lightweight filler card game based on project management, there's really not much here in terms of what I'm looking for. I do like solo games, though I don't always care if there is solo modes. There's really not a lot in terms of video playthroughs. There are a couple. Looks like Spanish, perhaps. Might be some French. It's on Tabletopia, or a sort of tabletop simulator. You can download, print, and play, which is good. They're talking about 2021 Q4 and shipping in 2022. For pretty good. About Us. Okay, yeah, Spain. So Spanish. Oh, okay. It looks like it's funded. So this is good. I mean, a bunch of friends or students got together and decided, let's create a game. I'd like to have seen a little bit more on terms of, video, how it works. I mean, I get a cartoon feel. Perhaps that is the age that they're looking for. The game is only 15 euros. That's not bad. $23. Got to go down to shipping, though. That's where it comes. $10 shipping. Probably correct. But I don't really feel like a Euro game it should be that expensive. I'll wait to retail if it gets to retail. If it doesn't, I don't think I'm going to be sad about it. But it is a game definitely worth checking out, especially if you're somewhere else other than North America, where I am not going to pay 10 euros for a 15-euro game. I've got mixed feelings on this one. Warehouse 13, the H.G. Wells expansion. It's close to funding, and it should trip over. 21 days to go, 649 backers. I have mixed feelings because I can never get into this game. I love Warehouse 13, and I so wanted to love it. And in fact, it's the closest game I can say that comes to it is Elder Scrolls, that dice matching, game. There's cards that you can play here, and you could get special kind of powers from your investigators, or not powers, but skills. You travel in the world, you look for the clues, and you bag it and tag it, and then you try to decide if you're going to undermine everything, because there is a bit of that third person, I'm the nasty guy, and I'm really trying to undermine you for winning the game. And of course, you don't know who that person is. You might discover them along the way and thwart what they're doing. As a completionist, I want this, but mixed feelings. Now, my wife and I talked about this game the other day, and I do want to give it another try. I've tried it twice now, though, and it just doesn't seem to flow or work. Something is missing. Maybe this expansion fixes that. I don't know. You will have to judge for yourself. They are offering both. The game for itself is just $30. If you want the region, it's $100. There is a lot of stuff in the box. Don't get me wrong. If you don't have the first edition, there's a lot of good. It's high quality too, but is it really, really worth buying or paying the game? I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. Shipping's like $10. Not a bad, $40 for an expansion. It's based on an IP. The images are from the actual game TV show itself. And if you haven't seen the TV show, go find it. It's absolutely hilarious. If it does have some fellow Canadians in there, and it is a good sci-fi, funny buddy show, and it's very, very enjoyable. So whether you want to back this or not, I can't say. I'm looking at it. I can't say whether I'm going to back it, just because I'm not sure that I want to go back to that game. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about this game. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through it. Take a look on that game on Kickstarter. This one, I have taken a little more interest in war games. Now, this particular one, Barbarossa was a war game that I played early. I think it was an SPI game that had Barbarossa. It was one of the first games I actually did own. This looks very much like it. It's got the half by half. Now the counters look a little nicer than back in the day, but there's still that 4-color map and the 4-color counters. So I just wanted to bring your attention that these games are still out there, but what's the shipping? 10 euros isn't bad. It's a €100 game though, depending on what you buy. So this is a Russian war, and there's different volumes. So you can buy the first volume, you can buy the Trench Wars, and it just goes up. These games are hugely. This one is what, $87. So we're talking about $100 for a game. I bought these games for $10 50 years ago. Now, yes, I get that 50 years ago, but they're hugely expensive. But, as we talked about, this is a small print run. It's probably self-published. He probably owns the publishing company. It would be very expensive. It is a niche market. Let's face it. War games and these types of strategy games, very niche. But I want to make sure you know that it's out there, because I think war games play a special part in teaching history, and I think they're important. And I think I just want to make sure that you think they're important too. And take a look at it if you're into war games. I'm taking more interest thanks to a game, 2 Minutes to Midnight, which is a grand strategic game. Very much, I had a prototype. It looked absolutely great. I will put that in the link somewhere in the description. But I think this game is a fabulous way of probably getting into wargaming. Russia-German warfare. It's a game of attrition, actually. This one looked interesting. Nexum. It's a 4X science fiction game. It's got 255 backers. It's already funded. Keep in mind now that we know that 1,000 backers would be sweet for these guys, because if they're going to Panda, we know that it's going to be expensive. There's 16 days to go. I think this might have been came up mid last week. I am talking to them, and maybe I'm going to have an interview, and they're going to tell us about their game maybe later on this week. I'd love to see that and be able to do that. I've never done an interview before, so hopefully we'll be able to arrange this. I like 4X games. This idea of little mini universes, cards, complexity is 3, so it's medium, high strategy, low on luck. So I guess if there's no dice, I guess that makes it more like a Euro. We've got the core set and the asteroids. The core set's only 29 euros, not too bad. 4 initial planetary systems, 4 minor, 4 major, victory tracks, cards, ship tokens, relic tokens. We got a deluxe version with more cards. The all-in gives you neoprene mats. I think there's minis. Yeah, I think that's the minis there. Ooh, look at that mat. I'd buy it just for a space mat. 120 minis there. That's not bad for 19 euros. Now, theirs aren't too bad. How to play. We've got some tutorials, but no name tutorial people. It's not Rado or Stella or Quackalope or Geek Gamer. What's it? So, no. The rules, you can play it on Tabletop Simulator, which is good. There is solo play. That's a big plus. They've got scenarios. I kind of like it. It looks interesting. Oh, there we are. There's some videos. Okay, so we do have some. I think we're missing some English ones, so that makes it a little harder. But it looks like they're doing well. It's 15 euros to Canada, $18 shipping. What the reward level? $29 for the core set, 45 euros. Sorry, 29 euros. So it's $43, $87 for all in with the expansion, and 75 euros, 111 for the minis. That's about right. Usually with minis, I expect to pay between $100 and $120 Canadian. Shipping seems good. I think this is a decent looking game. I really would like to see this in English, and maybe I'm going to take a look at it later on Tabletop Simulator just to get a look at it, get a sense of how it plays. I would like to maybe be able to do maybe a solo run through it, perhaps. Deck of cards. So they're using an automa, and you can use 1 or 2. So that's interesting. I'll download the rule book. I'm going to have to take a look at this deeper. I'm not 100% sold on it yet. I think it's got all the makings of a really good campaign. Are they first-time creators? 6 created. What else have they created? Nothing I've seen. Oh, Ratland. I think I've heard of it. Okay, so they've got a relaunch here, but they've got experience, which is a good sign. So they've been through this before. I'm thinking, I'd like to think this is a safe bet, and I would recommend you taking a look at this and putting this on perhaps a watch list. I'm going to remind myself. I hopefully will be talking to the designers a little bit later this week. We shall see. But anyway, that is it for the Kickstarters. I have talked well into longer video today than I wanted to do, partly because of the surgery. I am now waning, and I have some editing to do, which I'm going to have to take a nap first. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you for being here. I'm going to try to get another Gateway game out this week at some point. So watch for that. I don't know what it is. I might do a new game that just came in, but I'm leaning a couple different ways on how I would do that. So leave me thinking about that. I still get pretty tired. So I thank you. I am out of here for till later on, and I'm going to need a nap. The coffee's not doing it. It's not keeping me awake, probably due to the surgery. If you have any comments about anything you see, whether you agree or disagree, put it in the comments. Again, I'd appreciate you liking, subscribing. If you want to hear more, notify. If you don't want to hear more, oh well. Talk to you later, everybody. I'm going to lean over and stop button.